This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Let's talk sports fans. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk NFL, and I'm joined by a friend of the show, Jamie, aka the Philly Sports Guy. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
No problem. Oh, I've been looking forward to it. I thought now's the perfect time. NFL season's upon us, and a lot of optimism around the Eagles. To be honest with you.
I agree. I have I've been following them forever, and this is probably one of the better off seasons that they've had in recent memory. And the expectations have gone up tremendously since last year being able to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll get into some of them moves in a minute during the off season, but the first thing I will say is I have them down as favourites for the division, and some people I get a bit of hate about that, given people expect the Cowboys to always be the favourites, but I feel you can't really argue the Cowboys have got deep. There's no denying CD Lamb's greatness, but he's got to be healthy for their offense to be functional because Amari Cooper left. Gallup's health is still going to be not 100% at the start of the season. And the point of letting Amari Cooper walk was to tie down other role players in that receiver court, and they didn't complete that. And then the O-line isn't what it was. So I just have more faith, assuming the Eagles are healthy, I have more faith in the Eagles being that a team what you can depend on rather than the Cowboys.
I agree wholeheartedly. I feel that I'm a firm believer that the way that you win in this league is done done on the ball. For instance, the offense and the defensive lines are what championships are made of. And I feel that Dallas is lost in that regard over the last year or so. Their offensive line isn't as strong as it used to be. The defensive line, when they had Parsons on the line, was a a formidable force, but that defensive line isn't that strong. And Parsons being moved back to middle linebacker, he's going to be able to get his, but ultimately you'd be able to key on him in comparison and be able to kind of limit what he's going to be able to do. Where I feel that the Eagles' strength is in their offensive and defensive lines. They were able to bolster both pretty strongly. Even right now, with Kelsey being out, getting some like his elbow cleaned out some. They said it was just more of a, just a cleaning out of his elbow in terms of just getting out some of the debris and some of the scar tissue that was there. They drafted a center this year to be able to jump in. They have Dickerson, who was also a center and can play anywhere on that line. We have Jordan Mailata, who's by far the biggest guy really on the team and has really come into his own to be one of the best offensive tackles in the league, along with the fact that we still have Sayamalu and Lane Johnson, who was here from the Super Bowl era. So this offensive line is going to be really strong. And then we can get into the defensive line. I'm even more excited about that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even with Jason Kelsey, injury might actually work for them because you've got two very good young centers, and it gives them time, and it maybe keeps Jason Kelsey fresh for the business end of the season, if you will. So you can even make an argument for that. I agree with you. I think it's up there with any O-line in the league. And moving to the defense, which you alluded to, I thought last year it was a good defense, but there were some health concerns and there was a few flaws. Well, this year they've sort of ironed out some of those flaws, particularly at the middle linebacker position. They've deepened with the line, which was already very good, and the moves what they made in the secondary, I love every single one of them, really. I thought Tart was the cherry on top, but Adam Bradbury as well at that time of the season. I think it just adds depth to a position what needed a little bit of work. So I think if this defense can stay healthy, I don't think enough people talk about the defense. They talk about the offense, some of the moves on offense, but the defense almost goes unnoticed at this point.
Well, last year I wasn't really excited about the way Gannon called the defense, and even some of the defensemen, like Fletcher Cox was also very outspoken about it. And I feel that they've really started to hone in on that. Uh, Jordan Davis, taking Jordan Davis when they did, the fact that he fell to us, and he is such a again, when you see the two of them out there, when you see Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox right next to each other, Fletcher Cox is as big as can be, and Jordan Davis is bigger. And now that's what our center of our line is going to look like. So trying to run up the center is going to be about impossible because as of right now, if you watched any bit of the Jets game, they had to triple team Jordan Davis just to be able to stop him from moving. And he was still shedding those blocks off. To be able to do that in a game, you're going to have, that means you're going to give what, man on man to Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham or Hargrave or Ridgeway is going to be man on man, and I think that that's going to create a lot of openings and sacks against some of our opponents. And I feel that that was part of the issues that they were getting too much time back there. Quarterbacks were getting too much time to be able to throw the ball, and that gave all the receivers ample opportunity to get open. That's why you saw 80% of completion percentage when we faced any quarterback. This year, they're not going to have that time. And because they're not going to have that time, I expect that they're not going to be able to get the ball out as quickly or as long. They're not going to be able to take all that time. So you'll start to see more mistakes by quarterbacks, which will lead to more interceptions and more turnovers in general.
I agree. And Jordan Davis, what the biggest thing I noticed about him during the Jets game is his effort. Everybody knows his talent. I was a big fan of him coming out, but he was putting effort in, and to do that during a preseason game, that's what you want from a rookie. To earn every single minute what they're going to get. So that's the one thing I noticed when I was watching the game.
Yeah, and even during the practice, there was an offsides call on the practice where it was just Jordan Davis going up against the lineman, and the lineman was just so overmatched, and Jordan Davis just blew him back off the ball about 7 yards, and it was funny watching the video, but it was very telling on what type of strength and speed Jordan Davis has, and it's going to be hard to combat that with just one guy, let alone two or three. And if you have to put three guys on Jordan Davis alone, you're going to wind up really lacking somewhere else. And that's where, because Gannon does not like the blitz. And I've been frustrated a little bit with the fact that the Eagles as a whole have not been a blitzing team since before we won the Super Bowl. That even our defensive coordinator before Gannon, just he didn't like the blitz, and we were the second least blitzing team last year, I think, to the Raiders, who never blitzed. So I hope that maybe changes a little bit, but it may not need to, just because that defensive line is going to be so strong that they're going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And before we get to your quarterback situation, the Cowboys fan in the comments and regular viewer of Northeast Streaming Sports, Alan says, as a Cowboys fan, I hate seeing it, but I feel Philly will not only win the East, but get to the NFC title game.
I agree wholeheartedly with him. In fact, I have been very outspoken about it. That I feel that the Eagles, I have them going 11-6 this year. If everything falls their way, which that's really hard to do in the NFL, there's just too many factors that get involved. But if everything happens to fall their way, they could go as high as 13-4. But realistically, I see them at 11-6. They win the East and they make a big splash in the playoffs. I have them in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those everyone talks about the division. Sometimes it being the division is can work against you. If you have put everything together in that season, then they can beat up on some of these teams in their division, and then your wins go up a lot. You saw it with the Titans last year. That definitely helped their win total. So, yeah, I would not be shocked to see if everyone's healthy and they can put it together. I do agree with you. 11 wins might not be out of the question, and I'm intrigued to see how their season plays out now. One player, what probably a lot of it hinges on, as is the case with NFL, is the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I've got quite high expectations for him. I'm a big fan of his. I love his leadership skills, and no one's going to argue. Does he have the same measurables as Patrick Mahomes? But I've been a firm component of if the Eagles can put the pieces around him, then he can be a highly successful quarterback in this league. And they made a great start adding AJ Brown. And O-line is half for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Having a good O-line is incredibly important, and we've spoke about that. So I like what the chances of Jalen Hurts having success. I expect the running game to be elite as well. I think they worked out what they needed to do to make him be his best version of himself as the season went on. So it's going to be interesting how the season plays out and incredibly important for Jalen's career going forward.
I absolutely agree. I feel that last year, that the biggest attribute that he had was his legs. Obviously, the story on Jalen Hurts is that he does not have the arm strength for the NFL. When you have every other intangible, and the analytics say that he's great at all of these things except in accuracy and arm strength, and then you get his best friend AJ Brown to come to the team. So now he's got that rapport with one of his receivers better than some receivers. I mean, you could argue that Dak and CeeDee Lamb don't have that type of relationship. You could say that Carson Wentz and McLaurin don't have that type of relationship. Daniel Jones right now is questionable on whether he's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward. So you know that he doesn't have that type of situation going on. I feel that those types of intangibles, those types of things that are going on when you have a team that's really excited to play with one another and they enjoy each other's company. There's somebody much more intelligent than me said at one point, a team that drinks together and hangs together wins together. And this is one of the times where I feel that it's really big, and it was important to have guys on here that made Jalen Hurts feel comfortable. His trajectory has always been to get better from season to season, and because of that, it's been exciting to watch. And like I said, I'm very excited for the season. I'm a touch apprehensive because obviously he could regress some, but I just don't expect that. I feel that his leadership and the amount of work that he puts in is going to pay dividends this season, and you're going to see that out on the field.
Yep, I agree. And from what I've heard, he's very good at shutting the noise out, which is important. In Philadelphia, can you shut the noise out? Because he's going to need to this year, and that gets us on to the expectations for this year, which we've touched on a little bit. how I kind of feel about the season, just as a neutral, is there doesn't have to be necessary playoff win mandate, but you cannot have the season end how it did last year. Whoever you're up against, you've got to compete for Jalen to stick long term. Is that how you feel, or do you feel like there has to be a playoff win for him to maybe stay long term?
I said going into this season that I felt that he still had more to prove. That I gave him half of a season, 9 to 10 games, to be able to prove his worth. And if by chance, if at the end of that 10 games, if we're 5-5 at the end of 10 games, I would go as far as to say that they probably are going to look for another quarterback. I don't expect that they're going to be 5-5 at the 10 games. I think that they're going to be closer to 7-3, 7-3, or 8-2, and that originally they are going to be fighting for that number one seed in the NFC East or in the NFC. And I don't know that they're going to get that. I feel that as we get further on in the season, the schedule gets a little bit harder. But again, I feel that Dallas has regressed a little bit. I'm not a fan of their coach. I feel like I'd love for the Dallas Cowboys to keep that coach forever because I don't think he's a very good coach at all. I feel that their offensive coordinator is very vanilla, and they've been more outspoken about that in general. Again, I feel there's too much drama going around the Commanders for them to be any bit of a factor. And obviously, that's going to depend more on how much Carson Wentz can keep the noise away from him, because unfortunately, he has really big ears and he is affected by what the media says about him. And like I said, the Giants, where their defense is a little bit stronger, their offense is just still in tatters. I think that they are not sure about Daniel Jones. They did not give him the vote of confidence that he was looking for. And I think that instead of putting a chip on his shoulder and trying to play out of his mind to prove them wrong, he's pouting. And that is showing on the field. And hence, they've started to discuss Tyrod Taylor taking over the first team reps. So when you have all of those factors together, along with the fact that we're playing the NFC North, which I feel is only has really the Packers and the Vikings in it. I don't, the Lions are getting better, but they still haven't really come up to snuff yet. Chicago, quite possibly, is going to have a hard time just winning a game this year, let alone a few. And then going up against the AFC Central, or the AFC, I guess it would be South, where you have Jacksonville and Indianapolis and the Titans. And so Houston, I feel that Jacksonville and Houston are almost sure wins. And then you have tough games against Tennessee and the Colts. And I'm not sure that I trust the Colts with their new quarterback. I know that Matty Ice has been good for Atlanta, but now he's with a new team, and I feel that the game has passed him by. I think that the Titans have taken a step backwards since they went to the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. Derrick Henry, is always going to get his, but it's just not as strong. And I feel that just when you put all of that together, you're going to. I see 11 wins automatic. And I just can't even see. I try to find where the losses are going to be, and it's hard to find those losses. I just see when I look at them on paper, and obviously paper isn't the game, that I just see the Eagles being a much better team and just winning. And hopefully they prove me right.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting, and looking forward to seeing how we get some answers. So, before we wrap things up, is there anything you wanted to promote? Not just your content. I know you do a lot of stuff in the community, especially around the season. So, is there anything you want to promote for people to keep an eye on, out for?
So we obviously, as the season gets closer, we're going to be going to all of the games, and I'm looking to maybe start a new series as we go to some of these away games and home games. Just watch dealing with people in tailgates. I used to have a show that we did. Was called Tailgate Interviews, where I would go around to both home and away games, and we would discuss tailgating and things like that. That show looks like it may get a reboot, so it'd be interesting to kind of see. Stay tuned for that as we get closer to the season.
Everyone, keep your eye out for that. And is there anywhere you want to tell people where they can follow you? Obviously, I know you go on Northeast Streaming Sports every day at this point, but is there anything anywhere else people can follow you and check out your content?
If you go to any social media, even some of the smaller ones, and you look up the Philly Sports Guy, absolutely going to be there. I'm pushing everybody to my YouTube channel. Please go check out my YouTube and be a subscriber there. I'd greatly appreciate it. But you can find me anywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Caffeine. All those little ones, Rumble. I'm on all of them as the Philly Sports Guy, and I put content out on a daily basis.
Everyone, please do check that out. Thank you to Alan in the comments. Big part of Northeast Streaming Sports, and shout out to him. I know he's got a show starting up with Keith. Going to be a pre-game show. He's been making some content for Let's Talk Sports as well. So thanks for your support as always. And I just want to thank you, Jamie, for joining me today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed this.
No problem at all. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done already. And until next time, Let's Talk Sport fans. Thanks for watching.
What's up, everybody? Philly Sports Guy here, and I'm on Cameo now, which means that you can use me with any sports team, whether it be the Eagles, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Union, and even the Wings. That's right, any one of those teams you could use, and it could be used for birthdays, anniversaries. If you want to send a special message to somebody overseas, that's great. And you could also do my personal favorite. I can announce the order of your fantasy football draft. That's right. You ain't got to worry about whether that guy's cheating or not. I'll get the names. I'll pick the order, and you get a direct message from me. So let's go, guys. Use me on Cameo. And let's go, Philly. Yeah!
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.